All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. So I've got February 10th. It's 5:36 in the p.m. This is the Volunteer Fire Department Ad-Hoc Committee. Let's see, who will say invitation? Chris, you say it? Yep.
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us all to gather here today. Watch over us as we try to intellectually come to an agreement, and thank the firefighters and EMS people for running the calls. Heavenly name, amen.
Amen. All right, so let's do approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we got an agenda. Approval of the minutes from the January 13th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Abstention.
One
I missed
abstention. Mr. Klein's abstaining. Any opposed? Nope. Okay. All right, that passes. Recognition of public. No one signed up for public comments, so we'll move on past that. Old business, funding ideas for volunteer fire departments. I'm going to request we just leave this in old business, and we'll come back to that when the time is right. Any objections to that?
I want to get one thing on that though.
Go ahead, sir.
Since we're talking about funding ideas, I know we kind of mentioned it a minute ago. For those of you that put in and were just awarded the grant from the State Fire Marshal's Office, it was phenomenal. There was 7 of our 9 departments that are volunteers that were all awarded some level of grant. So for those of you that are still fighting for your own money, thank you. That's all I have.
All right. All right, so let's move to the new business. So we'll go ahead and open up for our study session. What we wanted to do tonight was we've got a special guest, Mr. Mark Alley from CPAS. He's here to talk to us about volunteer fire departments, the law, whatever, Mark, you want to tell us about. We're here to listen and learn and absorb. And then also, too, we'll open it up and do a little more informal.
Yeah.
The chiefs are here, so we definitely want you guys to have an opportunity to ask questions. And so we'll just make this pretty informal. So with that, Mark, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
So, which I've been watching your meetings, I guess, when this thing started. I'd get online and he would send them to me, and I'd make sure I caught up on some of what you guys are doing. And I talked to the mayor this afternoon, and of course I understand this has been a process, not just the last few years, but it's been a process over the last 25 years or longer. The problem in Tennessee that we're running into is, we're hurting in Tennessee. It's not just Sumner County. I'm headed to West Tennessee tomorrow, and I've got 3 meetings just like this. So, previous to this position, I've been in fire service 32 years now, and I worked for Bradley County. I started in West Tennessee in a volunteer department at 18 years old. So, everywhere everybody's been in this room, I've pretty much been. Taught with the Fire Academy, worked federal, and it's taking this job. I took it 3 years ago. This is my 3rd year. Before this, I worked 12 years with ISO. So I graded all your departments at one time. It's been a while. The second go around, David Miller did that. So, I know things have changed. But in Tennessee, we're spending well over $1 billion worth of funds. That's in local government, that's in federal grants, that's in the AFG grant, that's in the fire marshal's grant, well over $1 billion. That's about $178 per household. We've got about 7,500 or 7,500,000 residents in the state of Tennessee. So we're anticipating that growth to be another 2.5 in the next 5 to 10 years. Of course, where are they going? Well, I think you know exactly where they're going. They're coming right here, and they're coming to, this is the fastest growing county. Everybody has found out Tennessee is a beautiful place. He figured it out years ago, he said. We keep telling everybody in East Tennessee we're full. We don't need any more. But it is a beautiful state. We've got a lot of, no income tax or sales tax is pretty decent. The problem of it is the money deal. There is not enough money for all the agencies that are under county government. You got schools that's, you said was anywhere from 45 to 75%, 85, you threw that, 75%. You got the sheriff's department, which is established by law, that has to be about 35 to 40%. And then you got highway department. And then you've got a little bitty portion of that is for all the others. And when we look at essential service in the state, Tennessee is not, the fire service is not an essential service in the state of Tennessee. Well, I made that comment 3 years ago in Chattanooga at the County Commission, County Mayor's Conference. And my phone has not stopped ringing since I made that comment.
You didn't get beat up though.
I didn't get beat up, but nobody really realized that. And when Commissioner Bell came into office with the Fire Marshal's office, he asked me to come in to meet with Carter and Commissioner Carter Lawrence and Jennifer Peck and so forth. And I asked him, I said, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, South Carolina, heck, even Kentucky. And I thought we were better than Kentucky. We beat them in football, basketball, soccer, badminton, everything. But Kentucky is an essential service. So, a lot of people didn't realize that. What is essential? EMA is essential. EMS is essential. Sanitation is essential. But in Tennessee, the fire service isn't. So why is that? Well, we don't want to rock the boat, and I guess over the last 32 years, and some of you guys have been doing it as long as I have, we have a lot of pride in the fire service. When we took the red lights from personal vehicles, what was that, about 20 years ago? I mean, we thought there was going to be some major problems, and there was. And we lost a lot of people. When they started the minimum training law, that didn't work. But 85% of the counties 85 counties decided to exempt themselves out. And when that ended up happening, they said, you can't exempt yourself out of a state law. So when that ended up occurring, we had counties going back in as minimum training law. To be a firefighter in the state, to be a recognized fire department in the state of Tennessee, you pay $50. You have to have the county commission give you a boundary, because they are the only ones that can change the boundary. It's county commission vote. Not the fire department, not the fire chiefs, not two firemen working together or 911. It has to be voted by the county commission. And pretty much you have to have the mayor sign off and send it to the county, to the fire marshal's office. That's all we have to do. There are no standards. He and I can come up and literally, if we're good friends with the mayor, get him to sign us as a fire department, take a little section down here and start applying for grants. I mean, that's the statutes we're in. Some counties right now, they are exempt from training. And how do I guess firemen are born in those counties. Because last time I looked, we have to train our firemen. So, saying all of that, when I left ISO and went to CTAS, what I was seeing with ISO is I'd ask the chief, and I always had this little game I would play to see, for one, if the chief was telling me the truth. Second, if the chief, would actually, how well he knows his department. I'd say, Chief, 8 o'clock in the morning, how many firemen are you going to have show up at First Alarm Structures? Oh, I don't know, about 4. Oh, okay, 4. Chief, 8 o'clock at night. Oh, it's a little better. It's about, 6.5. Okay. And about 5.25. Yeah, something like that. I'd look at his run reports, and those run reports would show me, because those are the things we put in. And sure enough, I could determine where that conversation was going to go at that point when I was grading fire departments. But what was bothering me is when I started with ISO in 2010, 2010, 2011, when the new schedule came out. I was asking that, and I was seeing numbers like 12 to 15. And then 4 years later, 5 years later, I'd go back in, and it was like, oh, well, not much changed. Well, how many people you have? Oh, about 7 or 8. And then the third grading came through, and I was seeing anywhere from 4 to 5. And I was like, wow, we do have problems. So coming over to CTAS, I did a study of your NEFRS forms. I pulled all the NEFRS, at that time NEFRS, I was still calling it TFRS, but NEFRS, some of y'all remember TFRS. So when I was looking at NEFRS forms, I was able to pull 116 departments. I just pulled them at random, from combination fire departments to city fire departments to, I took out the Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, all of those. And I got to looking, and at 116 departments, how many of those departments could not get 4 personnel on first alarm structures? You know, we don't have a standard in the fire service in Tennessee. We don't have a standard of personnel. We don't have a standard of equipment. We don't have a standard of nothing. We got to go on something. We can go on NFPA, or we can go on ISO. Or something. We've got to have something. So let's just look at ISO, because it is the easiest thing to determine where we are. And both of those are correlated to each other, because ISO standards are done by NFPA. And it's the general criteria of NFPA, your 1710 and so forth, systematic deployment analysis. So when I looked at that, I did a number of 4 as a minimum. And like I said, 43% of the departments could not, out of those 116, could not get 4 of their own people responding to calls. So what does that mean? They're at 10. All day long, they're at 10. And they are, and ISO is hitting it harder this time due to that fact. Now, is that a Tennessee deal? No. I've graded it in 16 other states in this country. The only place I actually saw any difference was up in North Dakota, and I was seeing 50 and 60 people. Well, the reason why is it was a ranching community, and they had those numbers. And the first call I came into, or the first grading I went into, it was an old chief. He was about 78 years old, fine man. I said, Chief, you know, this sends red flags. I'm an old country boy from West Tennessee. And I said, I'm not used to these kind of numbers. He said, come here, son, let me show you something. We went in the back room, into a bingo room, opened 2 Sub-Zero coolers. And I hear those are expensive coolers.
They are.
So he must have one. So he opens 2 of them, and they're full of beer. He said, you know, the boys do pretty good. You know, I give them a case of beer out there on the ranch and stuff. I said, oh, okay. Well, that don't work over in Tennessee. He said, no, I know. And this guy, I get to know him. He's been everywhere. He's pretty influential in the fire service in the United States. He said, I know, but he said, you know, you grade in different areas. So I go to another place where they did not have that, and sure enough, those numbers are what I was used to, those 20 people. Now, we look at numbers, when I was with ISO and what I look at now, is if you have a roster of 100 people, in order to get, you know, usually your working people that actually work is what? About 25, would you say? We look at about 25% of how many people are on our roster. If you think of all of y'all's roster, it's about hitting the number, isn't it? You know, if I got 30, I'm sitting about 6 or 7. You know, it comes in numbers. If you want to have the big numbers, you got to have the big roster. So that all being said, I was in Chattanooga in Mayors and the County Commission Conference, and I've spoke 4 times at the County Commission Conference. I think you were there one time.
No,
you were. So, but I've spoken Chattanooga, I've spoken Nashville, Gatlinburg, all across the state at the Mayors and Commission Conference, and I showed those numbers and where we were at in the fire service, and that we weren't essential. And it did get a lot of kick. And what my manager told me is, you know, I said, you know, things happen. There's waves that go across the state. He said, yeah, there is. The statement you made was kind of like the wave that when Bill Lee decided charter schools across the state and doing in the voucher program. He said yours is right there with it. He said it is a flow of things. Looking at that on the phone, yes, I get calls every day, and this is the number one question I get. What do? We've got a problem. Personnel problem is a lot of our problems. The problem is state law doesn't allow a lot of stuff. Now, you can copy your neighbors. That doesn't mean they're doing it right. There's problems in all of those. About 18 months ago, I got a phone call from a county mayor. And he said, I needed to see you. I went over there, and he says, we've got to we don't have fire protection. We do fire protection with the city. We do a contract with them. And I said, okay. He said, what options do we have? And I told him. I said, you can stay with the city, but you got a 45-minute response time from the city to the county, to the areas. And it was just a small little company that was moving into this area. It was a distressed county. They had no infrastructure at all. They had some money because of some grants. It was just a little company. Y'all might have heard of it. It's called Ford. Okay? They built the largest manufacturing facility in North America in the middle of Hatchie River bottoms in Haywood County. They were not prepared for what just happened at all. They had a contract between the city. They were paying $400,000 a year. They were running no medical, so they were running probably about 127 calls, grass fires, wrecks. They had 46 miles of interstate on I-40, major thoroughfare for Memphis. So we went, I gave them 3 options, and those 3 options was, well, contract with what you got. Now, they had some volunteer departments, but literally there were no volunteers in those stations. There were maybe 1, maybe 2. They had one of them I looked at, didn't have a meter base, and we spent a day cleaning the fire station. So from there, option 2, contract with private company. That came in at $2.7 million. Or go with your own county fire department. And that's what they chose to do. Well, how do we do it? We do a resolution, and we do hire a fire chief. We had 5 applicants. Pick the best applicant. He and I are very, very good, dear friends today. After talking to him 5 times a day, every day for the last 18 months. But we did build a county fire department. Now, as politics, you guys know, it can go here or there anyway, But the governor gave them $5 million to build a fire station and buy fire trucks, but no plan. And we had to come up with a plan in 18 months. And I tell all counties, have a plan. Because Tennessee is growing. Have some type of plan. So this fast forwarding to yours, this is kind of where you're at. You're trying to come up with that plan. From my understanding, and stop me if I'm wrong, are we all hurting for personnel in this room at our stations? We're having problems getting 4 personnel on first arm structures. We have to depend on mutual aid to get those 15 maximum people on the scene. Like I said, that is a common thing we have across the state. Some counties don't even want to talk about it. Some fire departments, when you bring up the solution, they don't want to hear the solution. Why? We're prideful in the fire service. We built this. We've stood out on the side of the road. We've begged for money. We've done everything we can, and to try to build on what we got. Now, I haven't found that one item where a department says we're through. I have never found that, except just a couple weeks ago. And what did is when I explained to the chief that it's not had a recognition act over the last 5 years, never paid his $50 deal, and he called me up, he said, I'm going to pull it out of the reams of death. I said, all right, chief, what can I do for you? He said, well, how do I get that registration with the fire marshal's office? He said, we hadn't had that for 4 years. I said, and I found out we don't have insurance on our trucks. Oh, yeah, it just got better. And I said, well, what happens if you have a call tonight? He said, well, I'm going to help my neighbor. I said, Chief, what happens when you have a heart attack after that? He said, I don't know. I said, you're not going to get the $250,000 because you haven't followed the right procedures. That all being said, we've got some really good firemen in the state of Tennessee. We're a volunteer state. We are a volunteer. And I am pro volunteer fire service. I really am. But I know that separate is starting to become very almost disastrous in this state. You know, I was on the phone this afternoon while I was getting my dessert. And I was talking to Chip Kane, who's the DC deputy commissioner for fire marshal's office. He threw me some numbers, and I did it from memory, but 95% of the area in Tennessee is covered by volunteer combination fire departments. You know, and this is city and county and so forth. And I think he said it was right in the 50s, so I'll say 50 to 60% are covered by nonprofit fire departments. So what is the difference? So in Tennessee, we have municipal fire departments covering a county area without a contract. Without a contract. And I'll say this, there are departments right now in Middle Tennessee that are saying we're not going out into this county area except if you need us, where they used to cover the city and the county area. Because we got to look at how much a fire truck costs. It's $500,000 to $1 million. We had a 26% inflation rate over the last 5 years, with an 8% inflation rate in 2022. And cumulative inflation is 3% a year. So right now, air pack is what? $11,200, right? Somewhere, what's 5 years going to be? 15,600. That's where we're going to be sitting. There's a whole lot of fish dinners we're going to have to do to pay for the fire service after that. A lot of them. So, you know, I think there is, so going to the counties, you can have, you've got nonprofit fire departments. Nonprofits is you are your own business. You know, the county is allowed by state law to give a monetary donation only. Now they put caveats in there that you have to turn in your budget, and they give caveats that you have to have an audit. But here's the other problem. You know, when you look at the state comptroller's website, and I'm not specifying this for just this for any county, and you click down there nonprofits and you look at fire, it's really scary all the red dots that'll apply all over the state. Because that's from the comptroller's office, it's fraud, waste, and abuse. And I hate to say this, but you know, and I teach the fire chief orientation class for new fire chiefs. I did the finance section, and unfortunately, we do have some brothers out there and sisters that aren't very ethical or moral in the nonprofit world or in the fire service world. So, you know, and I caution them all the time, have some checks and balances. So looking at that, then we have a county fire department. We have utility, and then we have private, and then we have county fire department. But we'll skip the other two and just go municipal, covering a county area. We have nonprofits, of course, and then we have county fire department. So a county fire department, there's about 32 of them in the state of Tennessee. There's more coming. That is the hottest topic and the biggest questions I'm getting. How do we get there? Now, some departments are already there. They're already giving a ton of money to the departments. They already own all the trucks. They already own the equipment, the buildings, and they insure the buildings, all this. It's like, guys, you're a county fire department. but we don't want to lose all our volunteers. Well, you chose this years ago. And, then there are some departments that, when they are in that county avenue, then you always have one that says, no, we're nonprofit. Well, you can't have nonprofits in county fire. Once you become a county government, you become a county government, just like the sheriff's department. And the sheriff can't have all of his deputies having checking accounts out there. Every time you write a ticket, it puts it in his personal checking account. That doesn't work real good, Well, that's essentially what we're doing in some of those other models, Seeing some of these other models, and you and I have talked, Commissioner, about, these counties may be doing it and so forth. Doesn't mean it's right or it works or it doesn't work. It might work for some time, but it's one of those things in the county commission world and county mayor's world. We want to make sure that our tax dollars that we are donating to the nonprofits are used for the best ability for what we intend them to be. And that's what, all of us is, we expect. So I'll give you some examples of some pros and cons on each one, and then I'd like y'all to ask questions, because I could talk for 4 hours. You can ask my wife. And she's in the back room with us. So option one, we could stay a nonprofit, do nothing. Well, pros, spending and purchasing, we can do what we want to do when we want to do it, turn in the budgets. Grants, we can apply for grants, individual grants, go out there and search for them. Fire Marshal's office has those grants that came out. Every fire department in this state should have applied for that. There was about $33 million of funds that we did not have the money to fund. Those needs, we did not have that. Fire Marshal's office did a great job on trying to get that information out and even walking you through it. It was foolproof. Another pro of being a nonprofit is you got great outside time. Vitamin D time, going out there and standing outside the road and doing some car washes and stuff. And that's a pro, I had to come up with a third one. Cons, unknown are our financials. We can't plan. We don't know how much we're going to get. And on top of that, we don't know if it's going to, with airpacks going to 15.7, 15.2 in 5 years, how are we going to do that? There are some counties right now that are getting $8,000 a year donation, and they expect them to survive. They will not survive. Another thing is we spend a lot of time, and I've made this comment with the Fire Marshal's office and a lot of chiefs in the state. We don't have, so the new NEARS program on a really good structure, multiple companies that went, call times, receipt times. It takes, a working structure about an hour to put stuff in. Yeah. I know. And it's all a lot of it is data driven and a lot of it's number driven. Another thing is, inflation. That's our major problem. We see it at the bread. We see it when we buy our eggs. We see it every day with what we're doing. Like I talked, 26%, 24 to 26% inflation. It's not going to quit. It's 3% every year. That's what it's going to be from this point forward until destiny or infinity. We got limited personnel. Eventually, I'll say this, eventually we'll fail. We will fail. Why do we stay is, I've been to departments that on nonprofit status is, and it's a lot of it's pride. A lot of it is, it's hard to let go. It's hard to let control go. And I get it. I'm a secretary at a nonprofit organization outside of the fire service. And, and it's very dear to my heart. And I would never want to see that go away. But if it, but I do know the time commitment that I spend with that nonprofit, because I've been on the phone probably 3 hours every day with it to just handling business. So those type of things, that's where we're at. ISO, it's just a number, but we got to have some type of standard in this state. The citizens don't look at what the name says on the side of the truck when they need us. They just look at what it is. Option 2 is and I've suggested this on several counties, and several counties have it. It's a county fire marshal. County fire marshal acts like the fire marshal's office in Nashville. Fire marshal's office technically, they don't have a lot of control with us. They have support, right? I don't see Chip Kane or Mike Bell coming and knocking on every door at the fire department. Now, can they, if they're outside of service, they can. But, they don't they're not telling the fire department how you should run or how you should run. They're there to support with community risk reduction. They're there to support with arson investigation, not criminal, but with the loss prevention people. They're there for, they've got a lot of programs with smoke alarm detecting and now carbon monoxide. They're there to support the local jurisdiction. And that's what they do a good job of. They also fill in for the ESF4 function when there is a disaster. When the team of PIT is activated in Nashville, they have Jeff Elliott or Jason Driver or somebody go to the PIT and they're staffing ESF4. That's the firefighting function of the emergency management system. We have TMAS that has helped tremendously just having that function in service. The pros of having a county fire marshal, and we're doing this right now in Anderson County. Mayor Frank, I was actually on the phone with them this morning. McMinn County, Anderson County, Knox County, Williamson County, they have something of that state. It may not be that name, but technically it should be, because state law allows for a fire marshal. So the 3 laws that we look at is monetary donation to nonprofits. A fire marshal can be appointed by the mayor, or a county fire department under 517-101. There's no other standard anywhere in that. The reason why I looked at I've always loved the fire marshal idea, is because at the bottom of that law it says to coordinate the volunteer fire departments. Now, we as firemen don't understand the word coordinate. And sometimes as a response person, you don't understand the word coordinate. We think we man in charge. But that job is not an I'm in charge. He has no authority. Because you have a fire chief has an assistant to the commissioner designation. And that person is responsible for his jurisdiction because it was appointed by the county commission. He is it all falls on that chief's back. The liability, the coverage, and everything, it falls on that chief's back. With the fire marshal, some pros is it is a support to the nonprofit departments. They can do fire reporting. Now, there's a caveat when you look at that position. It's appointed by the county mayor, but there's an education stream in there that I kind of like. And what it is you will be a fire inspector. So it's kind of like when EMA designed an EMA director's job. They had so many, I think it was 3 years, they had to have all these classes. And TEMA had it they got it going on when it comes to EMA. I have seen it over the last, and I've been part of EMA for years, but they have a educational side of it, they have a qualification, and every county has to have an EMA director by state law, and they're essential. They're way far ahead on that. But I like that education side of it because you know what you're getting as a fire inspector. They're doing a test, and they have a qualification. That he or she, that person, can also do fire reporting to assist the local jurisdictions, grant writing, training classes, and even some free classes. Like you said about grants, that person could very easily make sure everybody got their grant paperwork in. Also apply for each one of those grants. Because we don't have time to do what we're doing as a volunteer fire chief at all. Here's the cons. If the wrong person gets that job, he or she could overstep that bounds. I mean, take the red lights off the trucks and don't make it a response.
That should not be a response position.
It should not. It is a support position, non-command decision, because that person has no authority on that. The other con is there could be a misunderstanding between the fire department and the firefighters on what that position actually is. Another thing is taking over. They're going to take us over mentality. I mean, I'm here to tell you, I don't know a county around that really wants to be in the fire business. I hear that everywhere I go. They'd love for it just to, have 100 people volunteering and going everywhere, because it does save a lot of money, and it saves money that we don't have in county government. But we're not at that point. The misunderstanding by the fire departments and the firefighters, that is the big caveat on that position. That person has to sell it. Here's what I found out in Haywood, and several other counties I've done this in, but just recently, the last 18 months is there. If you don't get buy-in, you'll never have nothing. It's all about buy-in. When we did the fire tax in Bradley County, we had to go to churches, Kiwanis Club. We had to sell it to the citizen. And we have so many people moving into our area. And in my neighborhood, I've got a lot of people that moved from Memphis and everywhere else. And I had a gentleman at Christmas come over, and he was eating Christmas dinner, and we started talking about fire tax. He said, I don't know why I'm taxed on this stuff. Well, if you didn't, it'd be a major problem. We wouldn't have what we do have. But is that a simple fix? Fire tax we've got 4 in the state that are fire tax. Henderson, Humphreys, Bradley, and Cheatham. Those 4 are fire tax. The problem is annexation, and I know you got some legislative came up on something this year on that's been floating around. But annexation can be a problem. That's what's going to run us into problem at Bradley. Our tax is about 22 pennies and 24 in the 5 mile fringe. We got a $6.5 million budget, and we need more money. Nobody likes that 3-letter word, especially county commissioners. They do not like that 3-letter word. The other way you fund a fire department is through situs-based tax. That's your state income. That's your state sales tax outside of the city. You can't fund a fire department unless you can only fund a county fire department with tax dollars outside this, TVA money, Industrial Development Board money. Those are the only way we really can fund a county fire department beyond the debt, beyond the monetary donation. And nonprofit is the only way you can do monetary donation. There are some counties like Rutherford that has enough tax base outside this area. The way you have to sell fire tax is you have to sell it by, my mouth's getting dry now. You have to sell it by how it will help the insurance ratings. Well, that's not always the best thing, since insurance companies went up about 28% on your homeowner's insurance this last year. But, it is what it is. Another option is and this is the The third option is county fire department with a contract. That's essentially like Rutherford did. That's what Cheatham does. That is what Roan's doing. That's what Sevier is doing. Williamson, no, they're not. That's really what all of those are doing, is is a contract. You can set county fire up under 517-101. If you have some nonprofits that just isn't functioning or they just don't want, you have to have that conversation in selling it and looking at it on both sides of the fence. Their board may want to say, you know, look, we're tired of this mess, we're out of the business. Then you can take that section and make that a fire department. That's what Sevier County did with Sevier County Fire Rescue. Then what they did is they contracted with English Mountain and all the other departments that cover on the outside, Seymour and so forth. You know, the chief had to sell it, and the chief had to, and the firemen had to see that it was beneficial to their operation. He's got a good thing going. He looks at, if you're running EMS calls, you get another $2,000 for the department, or for whatever it is. If you're running rescue and EMS, then you get another X amount of dollars. So there's contracts. Now, contracts can be looked at two different ways. You know, it's send a contract, receive a contract, you know, and it is negotiable. And under that contract, it can be written that, you know, if a county expects a Class 6 ISO rating, and if that contract goes to a 10, it's null and void. Then the county commission has to make the decision. You know, we gave you the opportunity, then your boundary can be changed and given to some other department. If you have that county fire structure, you know, you're talking about a substantial amount of money to get into the fire service with personnel. You're talking about a loan at $63,000 a year, benefits on top of that, workman's comp, all that. You're talking about a $1.7 million budget with 12 personnel and a full-time chief and deputy chief. That's just, but then you're going to maybe a training avenue. It depends on what Hendersonville is paying and Gallatin and so forth. They may be so high. So what Montgomery County did is they did a comparison to what their city, which Clarksville was, and then made that comparison and made their department about that same. Montgomery's the next biggest department that's starting, and Chief Rios just hired, I think he's sitting at like 32 people, but he's done that in the last 12 months. And it's not over with yet. I mean, he's fixing to, you know, move even farther. Another pro is if you have your county department, he can help the nonprofits by automatic aid agreements. Equipment standardization, everybody buys it, you know, and looks at it the same. Grant opportunities, there's usually more grant opportunities on that standpoint through AFG if it continues through. The only problem with option 3, same as option 2. Wrong person may overstep that. Oh, we're county fire. Well, we're professional. We're paid. So, I've never been asked for a W-2 form getting off a fire truck. So, those type things, it takes a strong leader. It takes that right leader. And that's why I say any decision you make. You look at going into, to option 4, that's pretty much, a county can't just come in. There's an AG opinion. A county can't come in and say we're turn in all your assets, they're all ours. No, that don't happen. That can't happen because they are an entity of themselves. They're like United Way or anything like that, and we don't need that. Looking at these 3 options, every step 2, step 3, and even the option 4 of being like Bradley or Montgomery and so forth, Montgomery's doing option 3, going to option 4. But option 2 gives you that standpoint of a fire marshal. Then you see what data is there. You see what's kind of going on. You give an educated, you give the support. You're giving nonprofit fire departments every chance to survive, every chance. And I'll tell you, there's some counties we made that should have been looking at what you guys are looking at now about 20, 30 years ago. Some of them, no, not here. I'm serious. I mean, y'all got good departments. You want better, I know, but you got good departments. You get a call right now, it's a big fire. You can drop 100 people on a scene. If you call enough people, you can get 100. There's some that would have problems doing that. There's some that in this state that they don't even it's so they miss a call or two, medical or something. There's some that they hadn't responded in 3 years to a structure fire, and they've been called. So I applaud you guys for coming and doing this type of thing, having that planning, because that's all I ever wanted when I made that first speech in Chattanooga. Have a plan. Come to the table with a plan. So I hope that gave you all the broad avenue of it. And I know you probably got a couple of questions, one or two.
Yeah. So, all right.
I got a question.
Okay.
I was reading some of your CTAS stuff, and it talked about the county fire marshal.
Yep.
And there were specific things, he has to plan, check buildings, and are those absolute musts? It looked like it's a TCA.
Plan, check buildings.
Yeah.
Building reviews, plan reviews and stuff.
Oh, no, that's pre-planning.
Okay, so
Pre-plan.
that's not necessarily a requirement, okay.
You
'Cause
can
I
write
thought-
the job description any way you want to.
Okay,
Because
because I was looking at that and going, oh, you're gonna need 5 or 6.
No,
guys.
that is just an option, and those are an example of what they can do.
Okay.
So, you can build that agency up to a point that, as big as you want to support the nonprofit departments. Or as small as you want.
Okay.
If they need help with, plans reviews, they need help with, investigations, they need help with report writing and all that, well, you better get ready for a secretary for them too.
Yeah.
You can build it pretty big.
But you don't have to.
But you don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to. So, starting out on a position like that, they've got to get the buy-in from the community. They got to get the buy-in from the departments. They have to earn their respect. That's exactly what they have to do. And I think that position needs to be not I've known you for a long time, you good old boy, we're going to appoint you as fire chief. It doesn't, or fire marshal. It don't need to be that way. It needs to be a set structure of I'm doing an assessment center in another county, probably end of the month. And what we do is, we give the education, we give some data collection, we give some presentations and so forth, and it's a structure. Each person gets the same questions and so forth, and then the commission or a board makes that recommendation.
So I know you said ISO, one of the big questions is, can that department get 4 people of their own on there within, on the first alarm? So the question is, and with where I live, I'm unique. I'm happen to be almost dead smack between 2 of these guys' zones. So if my house catches on fire, obviously, they're going to page right off the bat those 2 volunteers plus the city of Portland.
Right.
So obviously, city of Portland's going to give me their 4 or whatever their engine company is, but that's great. That's not their primary district. But if I get 2 from one volunteer department or 2 from the other, they still haven't met that requirement because they're individual departments. But if we go to, like you said, a county fire service, and then we
Yeah.
contract with all these individuals, are they still a county fire service? At that point, would we meet the 4, or is that still gonna be a no?
Still a no.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to, the contracted, they could be contracted, but it'd have to be like Highland and Oak Grove would have to be the same department.
Yes.
With different stations in order for that ISO to.
So it would be your fire protections area, so they would have to be graded as one department in moving that forward.
So, Mark, I think I asked this question whenever we spoke. If we were to look at, from a countywide perspective, going to a single nonprofit department with individual stations with the current configuration, would that get us to where we would need to be for an ISO, to where you could have essentially the mutual aid responses and still catch the right number?
It could, it could, but you're still limited to, and I've got two like that currently. And the reason why they are that way, well, one of them is they don't want to, but the main reason is in its election year, and they don't want to pull the trigger to go countywide right now. But keep in mind, if they go into one thing, they are totally in charge, and you are doing a monetary donation only to them. And also with a monetary donation, they have to determine who their chief is going to be. They're going to have to do their their audits and so forth, and they're going to have to figure out who's in charge. And that's sometimes difficult with us firemen, isn't it? Because we're all qualified. You
Well,
know,
that takes
we
quite a
all
bit of
got
administration when you start
yeah.
talking about that much.
Murray County's that way. Murray County's begging to get into the county system. And, you know, they got an excellent nonprofit department. Loudoun County, Murray County, Lawrence County. Lawrence County just started up. Tyler's doing a great job with it. But Murray County, it's that inflation is going to hit them. Is what's going to hit. And they're having problems finding the people to staff stations. So they are way on that outside boundary.
Yeah, I just see it from, my background is not emergency response, it's not fire.
Yeah.
I'll get with you. But I just see it from more of a business perspective, whenever oftentimes consolidation does help to offset some things, because you can get some economies going. Yeah.
It is, and you know, that we've done, this is not something that county governments and counties have never seen. I mean, look at the schools. That was done, what, in the 60s and 70s of consolidation of school districts and
They're
different things like
monsters.
that?
They're monsters.
Yeah, and I mean, now we're sitting with monster schools, but we got that tax base to do that. You know, the problem of it is we're catching up with inflation. We're sitting with, you know, let's say y'all give, I don't know how much you're giving a year for the donations, but you're just going to take that money, put it into that. We would want to make sure they have good government control, or good financial controls, very good financial controls. I'm seeing that as the best process. I think in 15 to 20 years, you're going to see a major push that way. Some are already doing it, like 32 out of 95 now. I've got 6 in the pipeline to, you know, that needs, or that we're talking to, and they're ready to push. But the number one thing is personnel. So they're going to have to hire personnel eventually, and that's a whole different beast.
Which means a whole lot more donations from the county in order to afford the people.
Yeah.
In which case,
And at what point?
the more money, the more oversight you really should have.
Yeah, at what point?
Type deal. Mr. Harris, you had a comment, question?
My turn.
Yes, sir.
You couldn't even write
What
that.
if?
Yes,
This is
sir.
a what if.
Yes, sir.
And it probably, I'm hesitant about even saying anything because it's probably gonna make somebody mad, not y'all. Can you take a department, let's say the building codes department,
Yeah.
and increase their building code fees or permit fees and have that money go to the volunteers?
If it's site is based outside of city limits.
Yeah.
all your county building department serves the out rural areas of the county. They don't do anything in the municipality.
So it'd be kind of like the same as like the hotel motel.
Yeah, but how much money are we even looking at?
You'd have to find out if you could do it before you could work the numbers. to see
You,
what you'd
okay,
have to raise
so
the fees.
you can give, so we can charge for hazmat in county government, we can charge for hazmat. You can charge for fees, as in inspections. But there's a caveat that happened in the last legislative session or the session before, that the fees has to be reasonable, and that is the biggest case. And I think that's what you're going to run into on that, is that fee and reasonability on that.
So a twist on that, because, so I think last fiscal year, we brought in $1.2 million on county building permit fees.
Yeah.
So could the county commission just say, you know what, all building permit fees are going to be allocated to the fire service donation? Let the building department be funded completely by the general fund, but all building permit fees are funded by, or donated to the volunteer fire service.
Didn't we talk, isn't there a county that's doing that right now?
Not to my knowledge.
You're just trading dollars, though.
That's all you're doing. You're just playing the paperwork game.
That's
Yeah.
all government seems to be.
But I mean, honestly, it's still not fixing the problem. I mean, money is not going to fix everything.
No, it's not.
You know, we could give. I mean, still,
It's sure gonna help.
but it may. But here's the thing: if we're sitting with, give this guy here that knows about, we give him $100,000 more a year to his fire department. It's still going to take him an hour to put NEFers in, or TFers, or whatever we want to call it. Yeah, but how many people you got respond?
What are those? Keepers?
They're national reporting. We used to have it in the
okay.
system in
Okay.
Tennessee.
Okay.
It's an old man thing.
There's still like, that's one of the things right now with, and my issue with a lot of the fact that this is all completely nonprofit, they're all doing all this for free, is there's so many state requirements, whether it's the training of the personnel or the assistant to the commissioner or the commerce secretary, and the reports they have to do every daggone day. They have to have them submitted within how many days?
15 days.
Is that 15
10
days?
or 15 days.
time?
10 days.
Any call, whether it's, medical,
Yeah.
fire, they have to, and the amount of
It's a
time it
Class C
takes
misdemeanor if they
them to
don't.
do this stuff is astronomical. And the fact right now that you've got 9 different departments having to do it, 9 different chiefs, and we just stated, y'all probably ran, 800 calls collectively in that 10-day ice storm? I mean, we're
So
too
if
big
three
of a county.
if 3 departments all go to the same call, they all have to do
Each
that?
one of them,
Uh-huh.
yes.
And if it's a countywide department doing all of it, then you've got one person. We might be able to afford one administrative person
Yeah.
that ends up having to make sure that all of it's getting done.
And
I don't know if you could.
But here's the
one
question
person
on the
doing all
countywide
of
fire
it.
department. Can you have a countywide fire department with an all-volunteer force?
yes,
Like what Montgomery County used to do, basically.
they were not a county fire department under volunteer force. But you can have, Lincoln County is a volunteer fire department in a a county fire department with a volunteer force. We can't survive, right now, counties don't have the money to fund a paid county fire department. We have to have volunteers. They are our backbone in this state.
So would that be a benefit to doing that to help with the 4 people, the ISO ratings and all of that? Because then it's all one department?
It would. And it gives you oversight. Sorry, guys, I gotta say it. You were talking about taxes. As a county commissioner, or I'm looking at it on a government side of the fence, an elected official side of the fence. and I guess that's the beauty of my job. I have to deal with volunteer, nonprofit chiefs, everything else, and also mayors and commissioners. If I'm giving money and I'm going to give $100,000 to a nonprofit fire department, I'm going to make dang sure that money's used correctly.
I agree with you.
And if they don't, and I want control of what is going to happen. I don't want to, we had some we had some counties, they're pulling away from that, but we had some counties that were giving, that were paying the insurance. I mean, like putting them on the insurance pool. One side of the pool says you can't, the other pool says you can. That's immaterial of what it was, but that one says it was a quasi-government, the other one didn't. But here was the thing, the more a county gets involved with a nonprofit department, the more liability a county is taking on and assuming. The best thing, and this is my attorney says, Steve Austin, and I will say that too, the best thing in the county's interest is to give a monetary donation to the fire departments and say, there it is. Now, that should not, at what point do we have to look at that financial controls? We know that the financial controls are, it's going through the trustee's office, going to county commission, doing a purchasing thing, HR stuff. All of that is involved in that. We have more controls in the county sector that assures that the county taxpayer dollars are taken care of correctly. Only you guys can determine what that price is.
They gave, $1.3 million last year?
Yes, the
So it's about
temporary.
100,000
Per station.
I mean, and then you gotta look, why
That's
does,
4 times what it was the year before.
and you gotta look, and I'm not saying that for here, I'm saying that I know departments right now, nonprofit departments hadn't turned the wheel in 15 years, but they got $100,000 sitting in their checking account savings with one signature. It happens. And I wonder, why in the world are we keeping on donating to them if they have savings accounts? That was supposed to be budgets. That's what we assume. Well, what if our truck goes bad or our pump? Well, unless you got $400,000 or $40,000 to fix a pump, it's a problem.
That was a question this last budget year. They saw one department had been saving up money for a truck, and they just couldn't understand. Well, if they don't have $500,000 for that truck saved up, it's just got to sit there.
It is. And then karma always happens. It's always going to happen. I'm almost there. I'm almost out of debt. And then all of a sudden, you bust a pump or you have a wreck or flip a truck.
Or the roof case.
Or the roof case in. It's always something in this business.
So, Mark, unpack a little bit more. I like Chris's question on the county department using the volunteer. How does that structure work?
County department with volunteer.
Correct. Yeah.
So you have to be a county fire department. You pass a resolution that says you've got to have a county fire chief. You're talking about them all becoming a county. I mean, they're a county entity, right? Okay, their boards have to agree to that.
As far as the county getting the equipment or the county just taking over that responsibility?
You cannot. Well, I mean, you're going to have a lot of assets.
Sure.
You would, and a lot of money to get into the business. Because if you don't, so if you could convince them that let's consolidate in a county, then how that would work is, and I have not seen one do that, because there's always that one person or one department, but their boards would have to vote to dismantle. When they vote to dismantle, all their equipment is signed over to the county. Their checking accounts are closed and money is turned into the county, to the trustee. Now, it could be voted on to put it in restricted funds. And restricted funds, it could be put into that. And then from that, then you can consolidate all of them together to cover the county area. And it's basically what we did in Haywood, and what all of them, the buildings had to be signed over. They would be put on county insurance. They would be put on county workman's comp. You have an opportunity to do the LoSAP program. You have an opportunity for the firefighters to be part of the retirement deal that went on, that legislature just passed. The liability is, another thing that's beneficial if I'm a chief in a nonprofit is, look, I have a fireman that has a wreck and they injure somebody or runs over somebody or kills them or whatever. We got tort liability on county, and we got attorneys and we can afford attorneys. One of the problems is on a nonprofit world is, one lawsuit could wipe them out. And that is a lot of what scares me a lot of times on that. By no means, personally, I don't think that's a good model. That ain't even a model in my book, but I don't think that's a good idea. Because I was there when 200 firemen walked out when Bradley County took over rescue, and we didn't know what we were going to have the next day. I think as a fireman and a department does that, it's like, well, fine, I'll go home. I don't have to volunteer anymore. I've spent my time doing this. I think anything has to be sold. I think you have to have buy-in. And I like your notebook. But you have to have buy-in, and on top of that, I think it's a slow process going forward.
So I thought whenever Chris had mentioned that, he was talking more about the contract, the county department with the
Okay.
contract.
Is that what you were talking
That
about?
wasn't what I was talking about. I was
Okay.
talking about just becoming a county entity where you have one county fire service.
Yeah.
And then you've still got 8 or 9 districts. They still keep all their rank structure. The county just provides all your equipment and operational costs.
So as a chief of a department, I would want my command staff to be my people. And I'd want my command staff, my captains, because I'm going to be out there on the line with them. I'm going to make sure that they know what they're doing because they work for me as a chief. You ask about that, Bradley has that. We have 75 personnel, 14 stations, cover, 400 square miles. We cover all the rural area county fire tax with a $6.5 million budget and an ISO class 3 hauled water. We got minimum staffing of 18 people. The good thing about it, we owned all the stations. We built 4 more new stations. We own all the stations and all the equipment. Problem is, our equipment's 27 years old. We've got full-time people right now that are underpaid with comparable to other places, and we're becoming a training ground, and they had 5 leave last week. So there's caveats on all of them, and they only had 3 applicants on the last one. So there's caveats on all of them. That's why I say, I think a county has that plan, but kind of eases into it. Volunteers are important. They're important to county government. A volunteer fireman is worth $31 an hour. We're money people. I know we're operation people. We're money people. It's worth $31 an hour. So every day that man right there trains, every hour that y'all did 800 calls. How many hours did y'all spend out there? Did y'all figure out the hours of spend? 5 days, 24 hours a day, whatever that was, times how many people. That's $500,000 that happened last week. That they saved our county.
That's the perspective that I come from, is that if we are to continue to let the fire department slip the way that they have because of the lack of funding, the lack of recruitment and retention, the long-term cost is going to be so much more than what it would be if we were to try to fix this issue now.
You're exactly
If we were to try to go ahead and, hey, maybe this one department or 2 departments, maybe they're not getting their 4. Maybe they need to merge. Maybe
That's exactly
we can
right.
fix this contract with Westmoreland and White House, and then we don't have to worry about those at least.
That's
and then
correct.
as some of these other departments over the next 5 or 10 years as they lose some of their membership, or maybe they'll improve if we're able to up the funding or do some more recruitment and retention. Maybe we can fix that before it happens, but if not, at least we have a marshal at that point, we have a structure, we have something that it can go from, as opposed to just starting flat 10 years from now when we're already in a crisis mode.
So Bradeley Mountain bought Rural Metro. Rural Metro has been covering Knox County for years. Bradeley Mountain, or Rural Metro went bankrupt. I was with the mayor and his chief of staff. They said, what would happen if they don't have fire? I said, I guess you'll be buying surplus fire trucks. I mean, they did not know where that was going to go. Luckily, Bradeley Mountain bought it. Knox County has a good service, and they've always had, but they got problems too. There's all. But, you know, I like your option on that. You know, you start small. I mean, think about it. County fire marshal to take some load off of it. You know, I know we can't fight fire in our jurisdictions. I know we're going to have to piecemeal it together at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's at work, and maybe our neighbor could, you know, number one, it has a call, and maybe Gallatin volunteer can come over and help, or however it works. You know, we do that anyhow. We have a big fire, we can get people there, but it's not going to be sustainable. We see that in the fire service. I think everybody in the room sees this. We just need a little support. You know, county fire marshal, you know, heck, what's it going to cost you? Probably, maybe.
Fully loaded, 150.
Yeah, maybe a fire chief or a marshal and an administrative assistant. You know, that's a big investment. If that you get that right person, it's a big investment. And they buy into this by saying, "Oh yeah, we don't have to do NEFRs for an hour," you know, and you're not trying to take us over, you know.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
in the last 10 years, have you ever seen any volunteer fire department successfully promote and market themselves to the point where they needed nothing from anybody except the people in their district? Because my brain's starting to think now, I mean, the commissioners, we could help a lot if we would just put it out on Facebook. Please donate $100 a year to your party.
I think it's going to take more than that.
Can we ask how Highland
That's it's just part
fundraisers
of
do?
it.
Yeah. I think it's part of the equation for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, any other questions from?
Oh, I want to hear
Well, I want to hear his
No, I'm
answer.
sorry, go ahead.
Without county government help,
Yeah,
not in Tennessee
okay.
that I can think of off the top of my head.
Because there was
That is
a time when
strictly-
it did, right?
Yeah, there was a time that we had a lot of coon dinners and fish fries and barbecue things.
Picture fundraisers.
Picture fundraisers, yeah. And then you have all these people that go around and want to, you know, what has hurt us really is you have a lot of people and start saying that they're part of the fire department and they're not, and they start scammers
sure.
and stuff, and it makes us look bad.
I mean, it was a different time. There were a lot more
It
farmers.
is.
They volunteered because
Yeah.
they want their barn taken
We
care
had
of
a
if
couple
the hay
aspects
caught
to
fire.
that, but most households were single-family households.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
the time was there versus now most households are two-family households.
Yeah.
And you know, the finances aren't there, the time's not there, and it's just,
You know, I can't think of any in Tennessee. I mean, we've got some really good departments that are really doing well. They can drop 15, 20 people on the scene and they're sitting with big money in their accounts, but they're getting county funding, donations. They're bigger counties than this. But they can't maintain that. That will not sustain. It's going to prolong where it's going. And there is conversation between me and their mayor and their commission of looking at a fire marshal, because all of them are in that boat. You know, Anderson's got some really good departments. They got a lot of good help. Mayor Frank has done that, but you know, still, she needed that little extra support, and that's all she's offering.
All right, so any other questions on the table for Mr. Alley? No?
I would just because I've got you here and I'll ask the question.
Okay.
The Recognition Act.
Yes, sir.
We do not have a single fire department in this county right now that has ever had a resolution for the boundaries of the fire zones. Right now, the way the Recognition Act is written is there is a thing on there, a caveat to if the fire department was created before this date,
2000.
be like 2002, it was like South Fork or whatever happened back then.
Yeah, they were grandfathered in.
So, right now, all the departments are grandfathered in. So
Yeah.
if they have to change boundary zones,
Yeah.
right now, technically is just two fire chiefs talking.
Yeah.
Is that the way it has to happen right now until there's some kind of resolution or, because there has been some reports of the county trying to dictate zones.
I think I would do, I would do a resolution on that. If you dig deep, and this is what surprised me, there is no central database on resolutions, and most of the time, if they try to find it, it's pretty much written 20 years ago and lost. I think what I would do on that is definitely have county commission vote on it. Have the chiefs agree on it, but have county commission verify, because that is the proper procedure.
But there's nothing illegal about doing it the way we're doing it right now.
Not having it? You know, resolutions are interesting because I think I would look at my resolutions, even in cities, I'd look at my ordinance. Because they come outdated. So a good example was some people think they were county fire in 1972 or 1974. Well, actually, how it was written, because TVA was emergency management, and then it's like, oh, we're with EMA. No, you can't be a fire department. The law says that you can't be with EMA. But what it says is EMA will build a plan for countywide fire protection. And they never did a resolution at that point forward. And then when that happened, there was no funding mechanism. So when you look at that, it's like, you're not a county fire department. Yeah, but we get money here and here. We at CTAS do make the recommendations to review your county resolutions. Make sure they're up to date, because I did find another one where it said the county fire department will only be funded through CBDG grant, or whatever that grant is. You know the one I'm talking. CDBG or CB.
Community development.
Yeah, community. Yeah, I get my acronyms mixed up. Community Development Block Grant. That's the only way it can be funded. I looked at that resolution. I'm going, guys, when have you applied for one? Well, it went to Water District this time. I said, well, you might want to update that. So now they were doing site of space tax, and they were able to fund a lot more, but that resolution held it back. Ordinance resolutions, those things should be reviewed routinely.
But since there's not a resolution right now, as far as having to move zones, it's just the fire chiefs being able to, until that happens.
If they change, I would have county commission to vote on what the fire chiefs agree on. Not just them saying, we're gonna move here and there. I mean, the law specifically states, I know that's one, but then you have others, and that law probably should have been repealed on that. I know the one you're talking about is around 2001, but it specifically says that on the other, later on, that the county commission will vote to do that.
Well, that was my only concern is, because they do have to submit that like every, 3 years or something?
To the
And-
fire marshal's office.
Right, and so all of them right now, some of them even get signatures from the county mayor, but there's no resolution for them to send that in with it, so they just all have to check that
Yeah.
created
Nothing's
before
changed.
2001.
And I've seen that, and that's the other option is, I mean, I've seen that with ISO. That the map that I was looking at on the fire marshal's office was totally different than what the map was I was getting. But no, I would have county commission vote to approve the boundary of whatever departments are taken away and so forth. Specific in the law.
Just a quick point of order, because I know you've talked about it several times. You said 3 years ago, you brought it up and everybody looked at you and your phone has a quit on the essential services.
Yes.
So the House has introduced a joint resolution deeming the fire service as an essential service that's working its way through right now.
Yeah.
Where it goes, well, anybody's guess. But
They got 1,100 bills sitting on the floor right now. Of course, they're not gonna vote on all 1,100. You've got the County Commission Association, and here's the thing about bills and laws and different things. There's different steps that they could go. You do have to have the House and the Senate carriers of it. The problem of it is some of them will be pulled, some of them will go to committee, some of the committee won't even, it may go to a TASER study. But here's the problem. Anytime you start monkeying with bills and laws and stuff, there's always an equal and opposite reaction. And where you see it at the end is probably not what we intended, just like the bill of the minimum training law. So, it's, one of the things is that we have a problem with in the state right now is EMS. That's a hot topic. And it went to a TASER study, and I'm supposed to be on a meeting with them this week. But, some cities are starting to do their own EMS, which they're allowed to do, which cuts your funding out in a different manner.
I did not realize that.
So that's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
Let's deal with that in a couple of years.
I want to give the opportunity for the chiefs here in the gallery to ask questions, so if we will.
Motion to sustain the
Second.
rules.
Second, all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, all right. Any questions from the?
Yes. I'm intrigued by the fire marshal aspect. So, say that's something this county commission wants to do. I understand about the clerical side of things, reports, grants, stuff like that. How is that gonna help us budget-wise, funding-wise, personnel-wise, or is this just to take some of the paperwork off of that? I'm not opposed to.
No, I agree with you, and that is a great question. I look at it this way, which I don't go to fires anymore. I don't have time. I'm never in town. But I don't care about ever going and fighting a fire and anymore and staffing a fire truck. And I wish we didn't have to staff a fire truck, and I wish we didn't have to fight another fire. I wish we could raise that flag and say we're out of service. I wish that by one means, and I wish that by fire prevention, fire inspection, fire investigation. We've sunk a substantial amount of money when we over the last few years in the state side because we've had, in 2012, we had an astronomical amount of citizens death in the state of Tennessee. Arson, it's been showed that if you have a good arson investigator, people won't set fires as much as they used to. They'll be afraid to. And arson's so hard to prove, but not hard to prove, but hard to convict. We've all been there and seen that. One of the things is in order for these guys to understand really what's kind of going on in our side of the fence. So I was, and that is a good question. The other day I was in a county and I was talking about different items, and one of the fire departments, just one, said, "Oh, we're fine. We got a great department. We don't need nothing." And it's like the other 12 was ready to, really get him. With the fire marshal side of the fence, it's just dipping your toes in what we can do. Bottom line, and you guys know this with our pride, we had the best fire department. If I'm a member of Portland, George Portland's the best fire department in this county. Number one. They call us number one for a reason. You know, we are very prideful people. Read an article, and I think you guys probably read the same article on Firehouse Magazine. We sometimes don't tell the truth about what our real problems are. We don't tell the thing that we only have literally 3 people. That's all that's going to show up. We don't tell them about the barbed wire and the baling wire and the duct tape that we had to hook the ladder with. You know, all they hear is we need more money, money, money. We need more personnel. Grant you, we do, but commissioners want to see the whole process of it. We're only focused on a couple of processes. I give a perfect example. It's on the web that, you know, we had a fireman in the county I live that they were talking about all these problems and how citizens are in jeopardy because we got aging equipment and all of this. We need to add $8 a month from every citizen. That's all it'll cost you, $8 a month. You know, $100-something a year. Yeah, that's all. But in all realistic, county commission will never approve a $12 million budget. They'd have to raise the fire tax up to get it to that point. But in our mindset as fire, we have that hard time communicating to this side of the fence on that. This position is a position that can give you a little assistance. It's not a quick fix. We've buried ourselves in the last 30 years, and it's just gotten worse. It gives us a little assistance, and I anticipate that if a position like that is set, you'll go into option 3 in about less than a year or 2. It won't take long.
And option 3 was what again?
County fire department with a contract.
Okay.
And then you'll go into option 4 with county fire department with all volunteer service. You got to have a building blocks. Got to have a step.
Stepping stones.
Can't just go from 0 to 80. So it's a good question.
Good answer.
I'm just, I'm pro-fire. I understand this. And it's that misunderstood, and I even wrote right here, they're just going to take us over. Boys, I mean, like I said, the county don't want to take the fire, but, they see that we got help. We need help.
So as they are right now, we'll go with the fire marshal position, and as far as their funding, it would still just be a nonprofit donation through that state law.
Yeah.
Can the commission put, I guess stipulations, or you've got to meet these benchmarks in order to get that nonprofit donation, or can they?
No, you need to have the county fire
At
department
that point,
contract.
Which, once you do option 3,
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
can, and that's, we had presented 2 contracts before, one from another county, one from CTAS. The one from, both of those contracts showed.
Was it
certain-
Rutherford?
Yeah, no, Robertson.
No,
Yeah,
Robertson.
we got Robertson. But I do have theirs, and I do have an Oxford.
It was mine.
Okay. But that was one of the things they have on that contract is once you go countywide, even if you do a contract with a nonprofit fire department, then you can still put those, do they have the insurance? Do
Yeah,
they
that-
do the audit? Do they do these kind of truck checks or hydrant checks? Or there's certain things you can put in there, even just going countywide with the contracts. And once again, that's, in my opinion, that's the better path to slow over the next 5 or 10 years, as opposed to either trying to do it quickly, half the department's quitting, and you're not gonna have any personnel, which is gonna be cost astronomical, or you can just do nothing, in which case they're gonna eventually deteriorate into nothing, and then we're, once again, need to spend a lot of money to fix it.
The deal with the contract, that's the reason why I said that at the middle. It's gonna take some time of knowing what is needed in that contract. You don't wanna write a contract so astronomical that it's gonna cost an astronomical amount of money. You want it to be doable. I could write in a contract that I want number one fire department to, they will maintain a class 4 ISO rating, hauled water. You'll never be able to do it.
This goes back to the old fire officer one. You've got to have
Yeah.
SMART goals that are
You
measurable.
gotta have SMART goals that's measurable.
with the amount of money that should be attached to the
And
requirements.
that's what that position does. It gives you that planning step. They got the time to plan. You guys don't have time to plan.
Yeah. So, Mark, with the fire marshal position, I mean, you mentioned earlier that we're able to essentially write that JBA however we see it. Part of it, I think, with the coordination side would be allow that person to kind of work with and get in to see like what's going on, where the needs are, identify those to help in that planning process.
Yeah.
That's where I see a huge benefit.
Oh,
of that
absolutely.
position.
So my point of contact when I was with ISO and I did this, so the first time I saw it was in South Carolina. All I had to do is pick up the phone and call this. He wasn't a fire. They have in their law coordinators, but we got to stay with the name of it. I'm afraid they're a coordinator, okay, but I'm trying to keep it as a fire marshal, because when I kept saying fire coordinator to my attorney, he kept saying, there's no fire coordinator in the TCA code, it's county fire marshal. Yeah, but I don't care what it is, it has to stay there. So I'm kind of winning, he's won me over on that. If you know Steve Austin, you'll figure that out. But, county, it is adopted by law, so that's the reason why I stay with that. Plus, it doesn't make it seem to a new firefighter that this guy or girl that has that position he don't have any authority on the fire scene.
Yeah.
The fire chief does. So,
And that is one of the differences between the countywide department with contracts and just nonprofit fire departments. You can have a county fire chief with the countywide department in contracts. Otherwise,
Yes.
it has to be a marshal.
It does. Now, we are trying to work out with the fire marshal's office. We know we have county fire departments that are on paper, and then we have nonprofit contract fire departments. We'll say contract fire departments out there. We don't really know how we need to do the mapping, and we've got about 4 or 5 like that. So we're trying to figure that out. Cheatham County has a geographical location. Roane County has a small area. If it gets into that point, we can figure something out on, okay, we got a mile radius here and no fire truck, but if it gets down to that point, we can do something. Basically, it would be on paper. It would be on paper. You would have a fire chief. You would have a fire. He would be a fire chief, and he would develop the contracts, because that's what it allows on Set 517-101, that the fire chief can develop their contracts.
So, the whole time you were talking, I had a question, and then you answered. You said that there's a bill waiting, probably in the pile of 6-foot pile of bills to make fire departments essential service.
It's not a bill, it's a joint resolution.
Okay, correction. So, that could help if that were to be passed. However, does it have to be a state law, or can county by county mandate that the fire service is essential?
County by county can do a resolution on things of that nature.
Is that a private act?
You can do a private act, but I would know you can do a resolution. You could do a private act, but
It's a lot tougher.
that's a lot tougher because it does go through legislator.
Mhm.
You pretty much do it with your budget every year. Prove it or you don't.
I'm going to read the very last sentence in this, and it may answer your questions. So it says, "Be it therefore resolved by the House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly and the Senate concurring that the state of Tennessee recognizes fire protection services as an essential services and encourages all local governments in the state to ensure that fire protection is available to all residents." So it's just hey, we recognize you and we want you to do it, but there's no mandate.
There's no shall.
Yeah.
Who was it that did that?
That's got several co-sponsors at this
It's a
point.
warm and
Shire
fuzzy.
one?
Please do it.
Originally, it was done by
It's a no change resolution.
Ashley, but now the co-sponsors are several, including Lambert,
Okay.
Dixie, Glenn.
Send it to me. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would go that route if I was on county side. I know that doesn't help on the fire side, but as a county side, as a commissioner or mayor, it would be like, sorry, I mean, we don't have the money this year, you know. Once you go essential on that and it's beyond that,
They can go from 0 to 60 really quick.
yeah, I just, in the county side, I just don't, you have to protect the county. Bottom line, that's your jobs, you know, as commissioners. Protect the county. And sometimes those two positions don't go, they don't G-haul a lot sometimes. I don't know. You know, I've spoken to a lot of as you can see, I've been trying to speak to a lot and get it out there for you guys. You know, about the essential service, that must have just passed the last couple of days.
It was introduced on the 5th, so yeah, it was 5 days ago.
I knew some things had been going down the pike. We've been doing a lot of education, and I've been doing a lot for the last year and a half. The government sees, the county and state and city government sees there are problems. We're trying to help, we're trying to address that, but we're trying to be smart and wise with it. We got more support now than we've ever had in our life. But, you know, I think on the county side, I think moving towards steps is a smart way of going.
I know you're talking about a lot of the nonprofit donations and things. One of the things that I kind of thought, I've seen it work in other places, so make sure that it's okay, was so far as county support goes, it's your capital projects, and the donation of those. Like, I know one of our biggest issues across the county outside of personnel is the apparatus. You can't afford to buy a new one. We don't make enough money to get a loan for one. But the county generally sits on a large capital projects fund that doesn't go unused, but there's a little bit more money there than the general fund. So as far as like donating a fire truck to a department a year or something, or buying our computer software costs quite a bit of money every year. Doing something like buying a computer software for every department in the county. That way, we don't have to have that little small step.
I think I could justify that with a fire marshal, as in the computer software. And you want to make sure, also, that each one of them are different NEARS numbers now. You want to do that. I could justify that if I was the fire marshal and was under my office. As in the equipment, a county can do that. They can get the equipment, do the equipment, and then loan the equipment. Now, here's a caveat while you were speaking about that. Benefits of a county fire. I mean, counties have a lot more power, as in bonds. They can float a bond,
Power of the tax.
you know, by power of a municipal bond or a general obligation bond. And those are all backed by the higher of the tax, like you just said, and it will end up, you know, if they need to raise taxes, they can because of that bond. Now, that hurts their bond issue by their credit ratings, just like we deal with. That's one thing and that is like a last dear resort in a county government. Like I said, we only have a few county fire departments that are into that function. But counties do have that option to do a general obligation bond. We can't do that in the nonprofit world. No. At all.
No.
That was
You
the
know.
direction Chris Taylor wanted to go a couple of years ago, before the new commission came in.
Yeah.
They wanted to do the bonds.
Yeah, but how can you do that? Well, you would have to lease. Yeah, you'd have to lease the buildings to a nonprofit, and then it could be an issue.
All right, any other questions for Mark?
Well, I hope I got 4 tires still aired up outside. I've been seeing somebody come out and in. That Jake guy came.
So watch out for him.
You'll find out when you leave. Yeah. So, all right, so we'll come back into session. Mark, I want to thank you for coming and sharing with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I think it's very insightful. I I took a bunch of notes, and I know I'll go back and watch the video too as well, because I'm sure there's stuff that I didn't catch, so. We greatly appreciate your time and information you shared with us, so.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so with that, guys, that's all we've got for this evening. We're well into it, so, one less item on here to do, that's adjournment. So.
What are we looking at for next?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion? What was that, Chris?
So what are we looking at for next month's meeting?
Same deal, we'll just continue on with our studying.
Second the motion.
Second the motion before we take a vote on that. One thing we do need, and I'm glad one of the chiefs are here, there's some baseline information that we requested. If we can get that, that's gonna help us in just evaluating. We're trying to establish where we are, so we'll know where we need to get to, so we can come up with some kind of budgetary numbers for recommendations. So the quicker you guys can help with that, that would be great. So, I know Chief Edgerson's been asked to work with you guys on that, so, if we can get that, that'd be great.
I think as of now, there's only one left.
Just one
Out
left?
of the 13
Okay,
departments.
okay.
So we have all board members of all boards,
The name?
The names of the
the
board members?
nonprofit board.
Yes, now I don't, I know that I actually have all those. I don't know 100% for sure that Mr. Edgerton does, but if he needs them, I can get them to him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I had
I think
part of
it
those.
would be appropriate for us to have all that information that we can get,
Yeah.
because then we know who we're working with and.
I will say that is one thing that we really haven't hit on that much is we do have several departments that have community board of directors, where their board of directors are actually the people that we have to do the buy-in with as well, not just the chiefs.
Yeah, and I know we've never done it before, but budget hearings are coming up in a few months.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to have all of that stuff from every nonprofit, and I don't know that we ever have.
Yeah.
It's turned in.
Yeah, it's not presented to the commissioners.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay, good, so I can get it from Beth. Okay.
All right, so motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned, thank you.
Did you get a card?
I didn't.
Come on, you get all that.
You got my